Spa means speed, adrenaline, and action.
For me, Spa is prestigious, family, historic.
For me, Spa means it's my home race.
You join me at the Fernando route and just check out these cars behind me. We're getting ready for the penultimate round of the super season, and the championship is still very much up for the taking.
We have new front tires and 3 laps for rear tires. We go for full stints on this set.
Spa is always challenging by itself. You know, the circuits always require the best of you, and I think the traffic management, the tire degradation, it can be a key factor of the race. But we are all looking at a little bit at the weather. You know, it looks like it could be very cold and rain.
First time that I have a roof above my head, which will be a little bit different in the beginning, especially visually, to kind of know how everything will be, the width of the car, seeing the traffic as well. Hopefully the experience I've had here will help me out.
Is the best corner you can have. Whatever car you have, the LMP1, LMP2 or GT cars, is always quite a scary moment. Yeah, the race will be long, but like always in Spa, everything can happen.
Coming back to WEC races in the future is 100% sure, you know, because it's a series that I really enjoy.
A very different look to Spa-Francorchamps for round 7 of the FIA World Endurance Championship. Skis perhaps required early in the morning after heavy overnight snow. By the time the fans started streaming in, the snow was already melting away, but the temperatures were in single digits. It was Arctic cold for the driver's autograph session.
I'm trying to get warm as possible. It's like Christmas night. It's not me.
I think it will be the coldest race I've ever done. I heard not more than 4 degrees during the day. Luckily, I still have my winter stuff in the car. Yeah, I'm amazed how many people there are for this kind of temperature.
No, it shows true support of our fans at WEC, and obviously shows that we've got a great championship. And yeah, thank you to all, you know, for them to all come and bear this weather. I hope we put on a good show for them.
In bright sunshine, the cars came to the grid. The grandstands were packed. They may have been swaddled up to their ears in warm weather clothing, but the fans were looking forward, as the drivers and teams were, to another epic Spa encounter.
It's fantastic for the fans to know that Toyota is there with Alonso in it and all these talented drivers. But the competition, it's been always very high, especially in Gte Pro Am and so on. And Spa has always been a very demanding track.
Pole sitters in the Gte Am Class, TF Sports Aston Martin, Sally Yolok, and for the first time Charlie Eastwood qualifying. In a last gasp effort, they just denied the Porsches the top spot. It was a final run from Andy Prio that gained the Gte Pro class for he and Harry Tinknell in their Ford GT. But the threat from Aston Martin BMW is very evident.
I think, it's going to go... We don't want to go too much towards the dry because it's going to rain at some point, I wouldn't want to go 3-degree rear wing. We've got to go on there. Just on the recon lap to the grid, it's already raining down the far end of the circuit a little bit, so I think it's going to be very changeable. I think we're going to be seeing wet tyres, slick tyres, intermediates. I think all the snow's gone, thankfully, and we'll get on with 6 hours of racing, but it's going to be very exciting, and you don't want to step away from the TV for one moment in this race.
Yesterday I put a fucking mega lap. You come over the track, 1.2 seconds. But I think the lap from Vern was fast.
Ken van der Garde and Nico Lapierre were absolutely right. The lap from Jean-Eric Verne was a stunner to put the guest G-Drive racing car at the top of the pile ahead of regular championship contenders Jackie Chan DC Racing in LMP2. Local eyes were focused on new boy Stoffel van Doorn.
In 2 seconds it will be green, and then you go flat out and then red, so maybe you can overtake, but it's risk, so
yeah, try to not flat.
I will not try or experiment with anything.
Just go behind the step. I think you will. Then we will.
Don't flat spot the tire, otherwise it's gonna be a hard job for you. You'll be alright, man.
We don't want to set any expectations. I think we just got to do the best we can, and that's the only thing. For me, it's important to be here to know how to manage traffic.
All right. I mean, tires weren't really working out well, but it's just because they're an old set. They're going for a heat cycle, so they take like another lap or two to get going. It'd be okay with the laps we have.
The Arctic conditions were causing even poleman Mike Conway a little worry. The number 7 car had taken the overall pole, just ahead of their teammates in number 8.
It is a race, we need to do it, because we have nothing to lose anyway for the championship. We're just here for win, so try to take it.
Make sure you shift through all the gears, which you'll obviously do. Make sure everything is okay with the car.
You join me on a busy grid in the final moments before we start the 6 hours of Spa. We've got the number 7 Toyota in pole position, and the weather conditions are constantly changing. So the main factor we're going to have to look out for here is tyre temperature.
Green flag for the start of the formation lap. We have started the
Jackie Ickx flags the field away. The 6-time Le Mans winner knows this circuit intimately, but few will have raced it in such arctically cold conditions.
Okay, indicate grid position, close the gap, prepare for start, prepare for race start. Possible rain in 5 minutes, so you get 2 or 3 racing laps.
Trying to second guess the weather will be a 6-hour-long job, but for now the red lights go out and the 6 hours of Spa is underway. The poleman dives on the inside into the first corner. Mike Conway ahead of teammate Sebastian Buemi. Stefan Zarazan up to third for SMP. Stoffel Van Dorn also trying to move by the rebellion of Thomas Laurent as they plunge into Eau Rouge for the first time, wheel to wheel. Thomas Laurent holds his position ahead of the local hero. They're chased by the LMP2 pack, the orange colours of G-Drive leading. But in the slipstream behind, they fan out wide as the Toyotas still try and find tyre temperature. The yellow car, Geert van der Garde, Racing Team Netherlands up the inside, takes the lead from 4th place at the beginning of the straight, slipstreams his way past the pack. G-Drive, Jackie Chan behind. Into the first corner, the replay shows a big lock-up on the inside as the track drops away, but Zarazan goes after the Toyotas. While in LMP2 and GT, everybody is trying to keep their cars intact. Up the hill in the GT class, it's Porsche versus Ferrari versus Ford versus Aston Martin. And nobody is giving an inch. The Gte Pro cars at the tail of the field of the Ferraris, just ahead of the Gte Am Battle. The blue pole-sitting Aston Martin immediately under pressure from the second fastest car in qualifying, Gte Proton's Porsche. Rain arrives within 5 minutes of the start. They're all on slick tyres. There's barely any track temperature, no tyre temperature. Zarazan drifts out wide and Thomas Laurent gratefully grabs third place for Rebellion. The weather radar shows heavy storms are on the way. Who is going to break for the pits first? Leaders are in, number 7 and number 8 Toyota. So within less than 10 minutes of the start of the race, the hot slicks are going off and wet weather tyres or intermediates now. Will Toyota split their opportunities, put one on wets, one on inters? They don't mind which car wins as long as one of their cars wins. Number 7 car is down and gone. Number 8, no tyres ready. Now this could be a last-minute change of strategy or just a plain mistake. Everybody else files in. GT cars, prototypes, it's a busy pit lane. Jimmy Bruni in the 91 Porsche. 92 is in as well. In come the SMPs, a lap after the Toyotas. Now they have lost more time on track. Full wets go on. The forecast is for the showers to get heavier. Toyota number 7 leads, and that tyre delay has cost the number 8 car. It's dropped down to 3rd. Late call for the 51 Ferrari. They too have lost a lot of time on the wrong tyres. This may be the story of the race. Visibility is now down to almost nothing. It is snowing.
Weather stays like this for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Weather like this for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Your pace very good compared to other cars.
Race leader is Nicky Team, but that off has cost him. Right behind is the fast approaching BMW of Antonio Felix da Costa, and from 7th and 8th on the grid, the Porsches are climbing the order in these treacherous conditions as well. Right behind Kevin Estre. Through goes the BMW. Didn't even have to wait, has more grip clearly than the Aston Martin, and the Porsche's coming down the inside as well. The Aston goes from 1st to 3rd, back up to 2nd in a couple of corners, but the writing is on the wall. Aston Martin had hoped for wet weather to try and give them a chance here, but it looks as though the cold is hurting them. Michael Christensen watches his teammate, and again you can see that the Porsche has the grip to spare, drives around the outside of the Aston Martin. That's impressive stuff. Into the pit lane, the 91 Porsche. Not able to keep tyre temperature. He's changing cold wets for brand new wets that are hot out of the oven, but a hailstorm is coming in. Even those tyres may not work in the ice on the track.
Safety car deployed, pit entry closed. Leader, slow down. Leader, slow down.
Rain, sleet, snow, 3 seasons in 5 minutes at Spa-Francorchamps. The visibility is all but nil. The race director Eduardo Freitas with no option but to scramble the safety car. Perhaps a world championship first, a safety car for snow. As suddenly as it arrived, the storm has gone. Conditions are immeasurably better here now at Spa. But apparently not for Ferrari. They are struggling.
We basically boxed one lap after the others because the tyres weren't ready. And then basically we put the wrong tyres on the car. So hard compound in the snow is obviously not the best situation. However, the snow stopped and we've come in, we've done a splash of fuel to try and win something on strategy and put a new set of hard wets. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It will be really tricky to start with, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Back to green flag racing at Spa. Here are the top 3. Thomas Laurent in the Rebellion, second after the change of tyres. Immediately Mike Conway, the pole sitter, the race leader, pulls away, and Sebastian Buemi deploys the 4-wheel drive hybrid traction. Doesn't get by the Rebellion into Alonso'S, but on the way out, here he goes, steams off down the hill in pursuit of the race leader. Rebellion in 3rd place, SMP charging up behind. The battle of the non-hybrids looks set to rage all the way through as the battle between the 2 Toyotas for ultimate victory continues. In the GT class, well, rubbing's always been racing, and BMW and Porsche side by side for the lead down into Eau Rouge. In vile conditions, this is brave stuff. Antonio Felix da Costa just gets his nose in front, but a better slingshot run up the hill, and that allows Kevin Estre to move ahead. The Porsche leads. Nicky Team in the Aston Martin, not far behind that battle in 3rd place, but the man on the move is not too far behind either. Jimmy Bruni in the Porsche, like teammate Kevin Estre, the GTE Pro leader. He is reveling these conditions, goes around the outside of the BMW Martin Tomczyk. He's gone out too wide, but he keeps the momentum up, comes back down past the Ford as well, passes 2 in 2 corners, up to 4th. Anthony Davidson off in the Dragon Speed 31 LMP2 car. This is a piff-paff little contretemps with the LMP1 car, and it looks as though there's no real damage done. GTE Pro cars carving their way through the AM field now. The 71 Ferrari, that change of tyres seems to have helped, but still the Porsches climb the order. Up to 2nd place now for Jimmy Bruni. It is a Porsche 1-2. And historically, these are the sorts of conditions in which a 911 is always the go-to option. Here comes the Aston Martin. Nicky Team around the outside of the BMW for 3rd. Antonio Felix da Costa has the inside line. Team makes contact. Sam Bird's Ferrari is right there. Martin Tomczyk in the BMW. Alessandro Pierguidi not far behind in his Ferrari either. It's the Fords that are dying a death in terms of performance here in these very wet conditions. They've gone from front to back as Aston Martin, BMW, Ford and Ferrari all try and chase down the Porsches that have the upper hand. Great view from on board of the action, and still it continues. LMP2, the points leading blue car from the Alpine team in amongst it, trying to thread his way through a frantic pro driver battle in the GT class. He's just about got enough speed to get by on the straight. Does that leave the door open for the BMW? It does. Antonio Felix da Costa, he can't go around the outside. Surely at Blanchimont, he tries, but Nicky Team holds him off. Team's Aston with damage on the right front corner already. Trouble at Alonso'S, and that is the number 4 bicolours car of Tom Dillman. What happens here? There are the LMP2 cars from Jackie Jandisi Racing, and the 37 car makes contact. He thinks he's cleared the P1 car, but it's deeper in under braking than he guesses. And there's contact, and I'm afraid that's going to be a penalty, and we may see a safety car.
Please slow down behind the leader. Safety car deploying.
The wrecked bicolours makes its way back to the pit lane. There's part of the 37 LMP2 car. And the bicolours, a weird-looking device with that advertising hoarding and no nose. Into the garage they go. This may be a long stop, but with a brand new Gibson engine, they're desperate to finish the race as a final preparation for the 24 Hours of Le Mans.
To be honest, the Dragon Speed I didn't feel much. It came a bit out of nowhere. I think it just understeered into me, but yeah, I was just doing my race. The LMP2 moved over under braking and threw me in the grass. So I believe not much I could have done there.
While the action was happening up at Alonso'S, this happened with the leaders. Mike Conway outbraking himself at the bus stop, and gratefully the number 8 car grabs the lead of the race. A handy break for Sebastian Buemi and his teammates. Sunshine and blue skies overhead. Into the pits comes the number 8 Toyota, and just fuel, and off they go on those wet weather tyres. Now, when you stop under a safety car, from the front of the queue, the red lights are on at the pit lane exit, and that means Sebastian Buemi, freshly fueled, will have precious tyre temperature dropping away as he waits for the queue to go by. Mike Conway at the front of the safety car queue, Sebastian Buemi right at the back of it. And the track is drying fast. The pits could soon become busy. Astonishing scenes at Spa. First a scramble in the snow for wets, and now behind the safety car, 29 cars in the pit lane at the same time, all with the same thought in mind. It's time for slicks. Full fuel fill for 2/3, 3/4 of the field, and they are ready to go green again.
That was insane. Yeah, started off dry. An interesting first lap, lost out to the sister car, but was just hanging up. And then a good pit stop, which put us just behind the Aston Martin, and then took a few laps to get the tires to work, but then it just felt like we picked up a lot of pace, and the Aston was struggling, so I managed to go through him. And then it was just massively snowing out there, and it was insane. Just flat out down through Eau Rouge with snow flakes coming through. It was crazy. And then there at the end we struggled again with the tires coming out of the window, so lost out a bit. But it's a long race, 4.5 hours to go. We'll see how we do.
In at the end of the safety car period comes the number 7 car. Safety car is coming in, so this won't cost them the time that the number 8 spent waiting. When they're ready to go, the pit lane exit light will be green. It is slipped for Mike Conway, who stays in because he knows what the track conditions are like, and he is ready to chase. In behind the safety car comes the number 8. Still on wets, don't forget Sebastian Buemi, so that was a double miscalculation. The number 7 could take a big advantage out of this. Back to green flag racing, and hometown hero Stoffel van Dorn in the SMP racing car dives down the inside of Andre Negrão. After all the pit stops, Negrão in the LMP2 car is the race leader, and now Van Dorn leads his first ever endurance race. Not sure too many rookies have had to deal with snow in their first stint. The Russians didn't advise him how to do that. He leads, Negrão leads LMP2, they're 1-2 overall. Battle for the lead in the GTE Pro class. Ferrari going from back to front here, but the Aston Martin nips in front. The Porsches, caught out again on their tyre strategy, have lost the lead, and as the track dries once more, the balance of power will change. Number 8 Toyota comes flying through the middle of the battle. On board with Alessandro Pierguidi right in front of him, hometown hero Maxime Martin. Well, Aston Martin were praying for wet weather. The drier it gets, the less competitive they're likely to be. He gets a nudge from the Ferrari, drifts out very wide indeed, and the Porsche comes through on the inside for second place. Jimmy Bruni reinvigorated now around the outside of Alessandro Pierguidi. He's gone from third to the lead of GTE Pro in 2 corners. Battle for the lead approaches the bus stop. Stoffel van Dorn in the SMP racing car has seen the number 7 Toyota closing relentlessly, and now through goes the poleman. Mike Conway fires himself back into the lead of the race. Still 4.5 hours to go here in Spa-Francorchamps, and surely the weather will play more part in this race. Number 8 Toyota dives by into second place, gets by our LMP2 points and race leader from Senior Tech Alpine. The Toyota's back where they started, 1-2. Oh, trouble at the source again. A prototype swipes somebody off into the barriers. That's Nicky Thiem being knocked off by Fritz van Aert. Here's the replay. Oh, he was so nearly passed as well, Van Aert. Just misjudged that by about a foot. The Aston team are ready for him to come in. Van Aert now trying to hold off Mathieu Vazivière in the TDS car. Vazivière feints to the inside. Van Aert breaks deep, but on the wet, slides off the circuit through the runoff area, and the youngster will go through. Gte Am battle, first, second and third. Matthias Lauda leads from Matteo Cressoni down the inside. Thomas Preining, the Porsche Junior driver in the Golf car, dives through into second place. After nearly 2 hours of racing, there's barely a second covering the Gte Am Class Podium. Bear in mind, we've already gone from slicks to wets and snow and back again, and off is the 88 car Dempsey Proton. Gianluca Roda, and it's going to require some removing from the gravel.
Track is back to green, track is back to green.
51 Ferrari is our GTE Pro Class leader as we build back up to speed. Got a handy advantage over the battle for second as well. Here is that battle. Alex Lynn in the 97 Aston tries to go the long way round. Richard Leitz runs out of room and grip and gives the Porsche the position back to avoid a penalty, but it's clear that the Astons at the moment are in the ascendancy. The balance of power has shifted yet again. Trouble for the 17 SMP racing car. This is Igor Orudchev, 3 wheels on his wagon. He's not long been out of the pits. It's shed the right front. And the safety retaining pins should mean that you don't lose the wheel nut or the wheel, but clearly they have not done their job, and he's going to have to grind the car back on just one front tyre. Nice spot by the marshals. Lucky it didn't bounce over the barriers.
Full course yellow, full course yellow. Be advised, we are telling the marshals to pick all the debris around the track, and especially at T16.
High speed lose for Fernando Alonso, and that is going to make a right mess of the Toyota's tyres. He gets away with no damage. Little chastened by that. Spinning at high speed at one of the most daunting parts of the Spa track. Still limited on the number of slicks they can use. They are not changing them. Quick check for damage, and he'll be on his way. Back to green flag racing, 91 Porsche leading the GTE class from the 97 Aston Martin and the 71 Ferrari. Ford again hoping it stays dry so they can continue their resurgence. Right behind the 67 Ford is the 31 Dragon Speed car. This is a battle for 4th place in LMP2. Behind you can see the BMW still trying to weave heat into its tyres. Tyre temperature still a major issue. Battle for the lead in the GTE Pro class. Alex Lynn in the Aston Martin, right up behind the 91 Porsche. A little bit of contact there. That's 1, 2 and 3. Richard Leitz, Alex Lynn in the middle, Davide Rigon right there in 71. Less than a second covering them. Spots of water. They're still on slicks, and Lynn goes the long way around the outside at Blanchimont. That's a fantastic pass The Porsche is really struggling for grip now. The Ferrari just goes straight by as well. Into the pits, the Porsche, no, he's going to have to stay with it. If rain is arriving, they're just going to have to hold on now and wait for a tyre change perhaps to come back to them with the performance. But look at the Ferraris. They were last in qualifying, 9th and 10th. They now are 2nd and 4th. And behind the 51 car is closing fast. Looks as though it's going to be trying to put a move on the Porsche soon. Meanwhile, Richard Lietz trying to get back by Davide Rigon. Oh, brave into Eau Rouge. Phenomenal stuff. Through the middle comes the P1 car as well from Rebellion. Absolutely mega racing at Spa. Gte Am Class battle for second. Pat Lindsay on the inside of Paul Dall'Anna. Two gentlemen drivers. The American gets the upper hand on the Canadian. Goes through into second spot as Matthias Lauda watches his car lose a position, or does it? Dall'Anna looks to the inside at Rivage. The Porsche drifts out a little wide. The Aston Martin back underneath. Porsche uses all the runoff and just keeps its nose in front. And look at the queue of cars trying to come through. The first standard pit stops of the race are underway. Stoffel van Dorn hands over to Vitaly Petrov at SMP Racing. And after nearly 3 hours, his first endurance stint is over.
I think it was a very good job. I'm happy I managed to stay out of trouble. I felt confident in the car, and we managed to overtake a couple of cars. And yeah, it was just a very, very good start. I think everything went smooth from our side. I didn't make any mistakes, so that was the target.
There could be trouble in store at Toyota. The leader is in the pit lane, but this is not a regulation stop, and he's lost over 20 seconds on his way into the pits. They're going from slicks to slicks. It's still dry. The number 8 car takes the lead of the race. But what is the drama with number 7? Was it out of fuel? No, it was not. Back into the garage it goes. No sign of a contact, no problem with the tyres, and that points always in a modern racing car to electronics.
Fernando, for info, car 7 is in the box now. They have a problem.
Well, the female engineer was pointing immediately to the electronics at the front of the car. It's a sensor in the hybrid drive, and that leaves the door wide open for the number 8 car. Routine stop for them. Fernando Alonso'S stint is done. Almost 3 of the 6 hours have passed as Kazuki Nakajima takes over the wheel.
It was difficult. I think the whole race has been quite tricky with the snow at the beginning, and then not knowing which tires to put. Obviously the transition to dry was a little bit quicker than we expect, so I guess for Seb was not easy to run on dry tires with a damp circuit, but for me it was much easier. I found stable conditions, and there's still a couple of hours to go, and I think it's not over yet. I think the rain is going to come.
The 3-hour snapshot mid-race shows Toyota number 8 ahead of SMP and Rebellion in LMP1, Senior Tech, Jackie Chan DC Racing and G-Drive in P2. Currently Aston Martin, Porsche and AF Corsa are the form cars in the GTE Pro class. Look how far the number 7 Toyota has dropped. And in the GTE AMs, halfway through the race, it's Ferrari, Porsche, Aston. All could yet change. The Team Project 1 Aston Martin Racing battle in Gte Am continues for second place, this time with different drivers. Matthias Lauda back aboard the 98 car, Jörg Bergmeister in the 56 Project 1 Porsche, and like his teammate before him, he grabs second place from the Aston Martin. Here comes the weather again. The sun has gone. Hail in the pit lane with a big lead over their rivals. The number 8 Toyota is making no mistakes. Full wet weather tyres, not even a hint of an intermediate. We may see wholesale changes up and down the field. This is not slick tyre weather. Brief shower is just about done. The track is drying, and as the LMP2 lead battle continues in the pits, the 31 car Dragon Speed are going on to slicks. The track is drying that fast. Ho Pin Tung just ahead of Nico Lapierre. Lapierre 36 is the championship leader in LMP2. The 38 car, one of their closest rivals. Into the pit lane comes the 81 BMW down in 8th place in the GTE Pro class. They need a break, so they are taking an early gamble on slicks, just like the 31 Dragon Speed LMP2 car. Conditions are changing so fast here that the pit wall is really the most important set of brains in the entire place. 5th place, Richard Leeds. Don't forget, he was the leader in the GT class before the rain came.
Marco, looks like more weather is coming. More weather is coming. Stay out for now, please.
Almost all the GT field, most of the cars in the race are on tired wet weather tyres. They're making them last because a change to slicks like the BMW has just made will probably cost them more. In replay, this is James Collado and Alex Lynn. This was for the lead of GTE Pro. And the Ferrari on the inside holding a tighter line. It's quite light on its tyres on this abrasive circuit. That's really helping. 38 Jackie Chan DC Racing ahead of the Senior Tech Alpine car of Nico Lapierre. Louise Beckett is in the pit lane with Nico's teammate.
We have been waiting for some storm coming for the next 7 minutes. So we have to wait this on the track. And then we decided if we still put the wets, or we can put the intermediates or the dry, or the slicks.
So he's on wets at the moment, waiting for the rain to come.
Yeah, we're on the wets now. In more 3 minutes, we coming to see if it's dry or wet, or we're still in the wet.
Everybody is trying to hang on as the rain returns. Aston Martin now struggling on its tired wets. Alex Lynn dropping down the order. Richard Leeds in a Porsche. Again, as the mixed conditions return, the Porsche on tired wet weather tyres faring a little better. He moves up into 3rd place. Alex Lynn in 4th. Marco Sorensen, his teammate, right behind him in 5th position in the 2nd Aston Martin. And look at the weather. Absolutely atrocious. Sorensen down the inside. They're both scrabbling for grip. They're skating around on ice. Sorensen around the outside. Lynn with the inside line. Do not hit the yellow car is the only rule. Side by side. Team boss Paul Howarth will be beside himself if they both go off. Well, Marco Sorensen, I think, goes by Alex Lynn, has gone, okay, if you want it that bad, I'm not going off here. We could still win this race. Down at Stavolo, the far end of the circuit, Fernando Alonso in relatively mild conditions. It looks for half the track as though the weather's improving. But get to the top of the hill and it's a very different story. Hail in the pit lane and heavy hail. No change except to better wet weather tyres. A full tank of fuel for the Aston Martins. And you can see why they want fully treaded tyres.
Safety car deployed, safety car deployed, leader slow down, safety car deployed.
Once more, the race is brought under control for vile weather conditions, and yet the place is still heaving with ardent fans. Pit stops, a go-go. And as the storm blows through, from wets to slicks, it's still soaking wet underfoot. Temperature is about 2 degrees, and they are going on to dry weather tyres. Back to green flag racing, an hour and a quarter left of the Spa, 6 hours, and still no sign that some fairly vile weather conditions are going to bring this race to a halt. In fact, it has produced perhaps one of the all-time classic races, not just for the images of the sleet, the snow, the hail, but also for the frantic racing action. The number 8 Toyota, our overall race leader. In LMP2, it's the 36 Senior Tech Alpine championship leading car, which now has a slender advantage over its title rivals from Jackie Chan DC Racing. The number 7 Toyota, 4 laps back, is never going to get those back. But in GT, You could put money on any one of the 10 cars winning and have just as much of a chance. It all depends on the weather and how they react. Right now, the Aston Martin coming back into it. Again, the 97 car hits the front. Alex Lynn taking the lead away from the 71 AF Corsa Ferrari. 95 is off. Big drama for the 95 Aston. Manages just to avoid the barriers at Piff Paff, but look how wet the runoff is. Charlie Eastwood leads in the TF Sport Aston, the blue car. Ricardo Pera right behind him with the blue highlights on the black and grey, and Giancarlo Fisichella, spins! Fisichella from third position gets a spin at the bus stop chicane. Now, was he hit from behind, or was that just enthusiasm from the Grand Prix driver? Here's the 91 Porsche. It was contact. That's really bad news for Spirit of Race. Could be bad news for the 91 Porsche too. That may give them a penalty. Off goes the BMW from third place. In fact, the second place battle with the AF Corsa Ferrari. There's the leader, the Aston Martin. The BMW comes back on in second. Just as Alex Lynn did earlier, doesn't take the place illegally, but through comes the other BMW. Fantastic position changes left, right and centre. The Ferrari down to third, and the BMWs now fighting their way through to the front. It seems almost the worst of conditions are the best for the BMW M-Tech team, and off goes Egidio Perfetti. That's at Piff Paff. Yellow flags. Didn't look like a big impact. What goes on here? He's going inside the 61 Ferrari and just can't hold the line. Nico Lapierre leads in LMP2, but not for long, you sense. Pastor Maldonado in the 31 Dragon Speed car on an absolute flying charge. Looks around the outside, drives around the outside. Now he's on the way out wide line. Normally that would be a disaster. In the rain, there's perversely more grip offline, and Maldonado grabs the lead of LMP2 with a little over an hour to go. He is having an absolutely fantastic stint. In the GTE Pro class, the balance of power is changing again. Michael Christensen in the Porsche now, attacking Davide Rigon. And this could be the change for fourth. The Ferrari with a tight inside line, but the Porsche sweeps around the outside, keeps up the momentum, side by side, down past the old Formula One pits into Eau Rouge. The Ferrari's going to give up. Here is it. Yes, he does. Through goes the Porsche. Christensen up to fourth, and watch behind for James Collado in the second Ferrari. He gets a flyer through Eau Rouge, and out to Réguillon. He sweeps around the outside of his teammate. The 51 car goes ahead of 71, on board with Collado, just creeping past. And then Davide Rigon goes, right, job done, off you go. Just breeze off the throttle and allows his teammate to go through with no major dramas. But again, changing weather, changing performance for all the cars. Aston Martin leading in Spa with a Belgian driver at the wheel. Alex Lynn and Maxime Martin have had a fantastic race so far, but still almost an hour to go and anything could happen. And look at the BMWs. Antonio Felix da Costa, Nicky Katzberg second and third as the wet weather helps their cause. Number 8 Toyota still out front. Last year's winners in Spa, looking good for another victory.
What's good at least is that we could race, you know, we didn't have only a red flag so I think so far the race direction has done a great job just to neutralize when it's a little bit too crazy, and we are lucky that it dries up quite quickly so we can race again. So far it's been quite interesting.
Quite interesting, maybe the understatement of the week here at Spa-Francorchamps. The race leader is in on wet tyres, but the weather is again deteriorating. Fresh, hot wets ready to go on. Fernando Alonso will take them willingly. Sleet and snow return, as does the safety car. Really heavy weather on its way, and now blanketing Spa-Francorchamps. Fernando Alonso leads for Toyota, Rebellion second, SMP Racing in third. The number 8 car a lap clear of its rivals. And look at the amount of water those wet weather tyres have to shift. Incredible scenes at Spa-Francorchamps. Alonso, Maldonado, Maxime Martin and Ricardo Pera are our 4 class leaders, with still nearly 40 minutes to survive. Gulf Racing car off, that's Mike Wainwright. Losing tyre temperature behind the safety car is a real problem. The tyres will be like wood, the brakes also. The gentleman driver gets back on track with little time lost and no damage. The marshals doing sterling work to keep the racers safe. We go back to green flag racing with a quarter of an hour to sort out our 4 championship classes. The number 8 Toyota leads the field. It's anybody's race in LMP2, GTE Pro and GTE Am. The final run to the checkered flag in vile wet conditions pretty much reflects half of the rest of the running. There's first, second and third in the GT Pro class, Aston, Ferrari and Porsche. But right now, the car applying the pressure is the of course, a Ferrari number 51 car of James Collado, chasing Maxime Martin and desperate to try and put a move in. The reigning champions have not had the best season this year. A win here would be a great boost to their hopes. But it's not to come. The red flag has been thrown.
Red flag. Car 8, please slow down to 80 kilometers an hour. There will be no cool down lap. All cars will be driven directly to Parc Fermé.
It is a second straight win this season at Spa for the number 8 Toyota as the team claim the world title.
For the team, we secured the manufacturer's title, so it's a very important result. And now we head to Le Mans, and yeah, we still finished Le Mans in a good way. So still, we need to keep pushing.
In GTE Pro, a second win this season for Aston Martin Racing. This time the 97 car Alex Lynn and the hometown hero Maxime Martin. A strong result for Porsche means that they have claimed the GT manufacturer's crown.
King of Belgium. Belgium. And to win here was perfect for me.
Perfect. It was really perfect.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely the best place for me to win the first race with Aston Martin. It was a really hard race, as we can have in Spa. A lot of gamble, a lot of strategy, but at the end we had a really strong car in dry and wet, and yeah, we could make the difference at the end, and yeah, it's just awesome.
Big result in LMP2 for Dragon Speed. Gonzalez, Maldonado and Davidson claiming a hard-fought victory. And in the GTE Am class, the win goes to Christian Reed, Ricardo Pera and Matt Campbell in the 77 Dempsey Proton Porsche. Huge applause for the Belgian crowd, for the Aston Martins, and for hometown hero Maxime Martin, our GTE Pro winners. Porsche, the world champions for manufacturers in the GTE class, with still Le Mans to go.
No, it was okay. Yeah, there was a lot of.
You never rested the race with the traffic.
The traffic, the first time for you?
Yes.
And under this. That's okay. It's okay. So we still need to learn.
It's no first time too.
Yeah, just start everything today was.
For you too.
Perfect. Incredible the weather.
First time you ever done it in snow?
Belgium. The two former McLaren teammates, like everybody else, just thinking about the crazy weather of this year's Spa 6 hours. And then again into sunshine they step. The top three with the number 8 Toyota on top of the pile, as they were a year earlier when Fernando Alonso claimed his first endurance win. Rebellion taking second, SMP taking third, but the number 8 crew take one step more towards the title. And that will be decided at Le Mans. Toyota Gazoo Racing winning at Spa, Dragon Speed the LMP2 victors, Aston Martin Racing in GTE Pro, and Dempsey Proton in Gte Am. All the drivers' titles remain open. Toyota have claimed the prototype manufacturer's crown, and Porsche are GT World Champions. But for the drivers' titles, only one test remains, the greatest of them all.
To the formation lap.
4, 3, 2, 1.